Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. We are officially live. What is it exactly that I'm going to be discussing in this today's video? This is absolutely going to be something that I feel like is really interesting and really valuable to know a lot more about. Okay, this is one of those subjects that is actually super significant and super important, and it really does offer value if you can really digest what it is that I'm going to be speaking about in this today's video. It is going to help you get a better perspective of hopefully what is going on inside of yourself and really get a better look at what it means to be authentic and what it means to be inauthentic, but also understanding some of the necessity for what it means to be unauthentic as well as being authentic. Because there really is a time and a place for both of these different aspects of the self. And the reality is that most people don't even have an understanding of what this even means or what this is about. And this is exactly what it is that I'm going to be discussing in this today's video, understanding your true self, your authentic self in comparison to your false self. Some would even refer to this as the separate self. If this is something that you are interested in learning a lot more about, then you simply have one thing to do, and that is to stay tuned. And I will see you on the other side. Okay, so before we get started, let me give a little bit of an introduction on who I am, just in case you don't know. Okay, I think that's going to be important to get some perspective of who you're getting this information from as I'm making this video. My name is Jeremiah Schwartz. I am a professional occultist. I am fully initiated in the entirety of the Kabbalistic tree. I'm studied when it comes to the 22 major arcana of the tarot deck. I'm studied when it comes to planetary energies in association with astrology. And I'm also very aware and studied of trauma and its relationship to the nervous system. Okay. So, with that being said, we are talking about the authentic self, the true self, in comparison to the false self, the separate self. What exactly does this mean? Well, the first place that we want to start with this is we want to start with the understanding that most people, as they understand this and as they hear this, they think that the false self, the separate self, is all bad, and that this is an aspect of the self that we want to move far away from, that we don't want to be in connection with, that we want to learn how to completely get rid of. And we clearly want to move more so into the authentic self and align more so with what is true for our souls and who we actually are. And yes, this is generally what it is that we are working towards, and generally what it is that we are wanting to understand, and is something that is very important. But at the same end of that token, there is room and there is importance when it comes to the false self, the separate self. There is value in the separate self, just as there is value in the authentic self, because there is room for contrast to be created. Give me 1 second. I'm going to open the door for my cat. Okay. I just had to let my cat out real quick. So, what I'm saying here is that it's not necessarily as simple as the false self is bad and the true self is good. That's basically what it is that I'm trying to communicate here, because we would only know about what it means to be true or what it means to be authentic to who and what we really are if we have the contrast to be able to understand the difference between what is true for us and what is not true for us. So that is where the value of the false self exists and the value of the separate self. But also, with that being said, in our today's time, we are living in a time where so many people, and I mean the mass majority of the collective, is in a state where they are completely overly identified and overly attached to their own false self. And they are unconscious that this is what is taking place, to the extent that they don't even know what it means to be authentic. They don't even know what it means to be their true self whatsoever. So, of course, when we're living in a collective society where most people are aligned with their inauthentic self, that absolutely creates a lot of room for imbalance to manifest. And it creates a lot of room for pain and for suffering and for people to live mediocre lives and not really get to experience the full spectrum of who and what they truly are. And once again, living a life that you actually came here to live. So, that is definitely something that is important to know along these lines as well, that most people are aligned with the false self. So we are at a point in time where people are starting to understand the importance of what it means to be authentic and what it means to be true to who they actually are. And that largely also is going to be something that is subjective to the personal individual. This is not something that is just black and white and can be thrown on everyone. Like, this is what it means to be true. This is not what it means to be true, etc. These things can be more nuanced than that. And it can look a little bit different for every single person that is working with this. But that is, once again, something that is very important to understand. So, what is the false self really? I mean, you've heard enough of it by this point in time. I'm sure you've studied from a lot of people that may have mentioned it or they have talked about it in certain ways that they might do that. But you're still here and you're still wondering, what exactly is the false self? Like, what exactly does that mean? What exactly does it represent? How can I actually practically understand what this false self is inside of myself so I can delineate who am I and what is my own false self? So generally, the first place that we have to start to really understand this concept is we have to start first with the incarnation of who you are. And what I mean by this is we want to understand the true nature of authenticity. And then we want to understand how the false self emerges or how it comes into being. So I want you to imagine when you're born as a child, as a baby, this is largely going to be one of your most authentic self states and one of your truest self states, because this is largely going to be before all of the significant traumas that you've experienced as you're then growing older as a human being. So, a lot of the different traumas that we experience in the early childhood developmental stages are the ones that really stay with us as we progressively age. And as they go unhealed, oftentimes these things, as they are basically frozen in the nervous system, they are leading us into more circumstances and situations and relationships that are just causing further fragmentation inside of ourselves, which is further damaging our beings and further separating us once again from the authentic self. So if we can zoom back in time and we can go back to that space of when we were incarnate, when we were just a little child or when we were just a little baby, this is largely your this is your authentic expression. This is your authentic self state. Being able to be in the present moment, being able to feel the spectrum and the range of your different emotions, being able to trust mom and dad to nurture you and to protect you because you don't even have that ability to necessarily do it yourself at that age. So all you can do is trust, right? All you can do is trust the universe. And I know as I'm saying this, not every child or not every baby has this nurturance and has this type of upbringing, and that is very unfortunate for anyone or anything that doesn't. But this is me just creating an example of what the authentic self looks like and how it operates and how it largely is for most of us as we are born here on this planet. And once again, if you didn't have those circumstances, if you didn't have parents that could nurture you, if you were, extremely traumatized and abused at that young age, like severely, then of course, there's going to be a lot of trauma in your system that is going to need to be worked through and needs to be healed. But generally speaking, the second you're born, you are in that authentic self state and you're in that authentic expression. And hopefully that can continue to be nurtured after you're born so that you can continue growing as a healthy human. But unfortunately, for most of us as humans, that isn't nurtured. And we get severely fragmented and we store these traumas in our nervous system at an emotional, sensational level. And then it causes a lot of harm. But once again, what I'm describing here in regards to the authentic self, this is largely an aspect of you. It is a version of you that exists in that state of presence, full expression of emotions, a deep sense of safety, an ability to socially connect with other humans and other, environments, and feeling this deep sense of adventure and this deep sense of curiosity for what potentially is going to happen or what potentially could happen or what could you experience, what could you discover, right? These are some of these beauties of this inner child. And this is literally the authentic self. This is what it means to be the true self. So I want you to imagine what it would be like for you as you're listening to this, as you're an adult now listening to this video. Imagine taking those childlike qualities that you once had and that you actually came into this earth with, and imagine healing enough of the trauma within your nervous system to the point where you're able to bring these qualities back into your nervous system. So rather than having a whole bunch of repressed fear, repressed anxiety, repressed anger, repressed abandonment, repressed trust issues, right? Rather than having all these things significantly and very deeply repressed inside of your system and just continuously being repressed, imagine if you were actually processing these things, if you were finding acceptance for these things in your system and actively and consciously working with these emotions and these sensations and these memories and these parts of you that have been through these unfortunate things. Imagine if you were doing that work and then suddenly you started experiencing this new version of you that started coming through your body, this new part of you or new parts of you that once were severely buried and once were severely repressed. But then now you're starting to experience little bouts of curiosity, adventure, what it means for you to be in the present moment. Now you're starting to feel socially engaged, like you actually want to talk to other people. You want to be around other people because it feels right for you. There's something that just feels comforting and co-regulating about that. You start gaining access to more of your, um, we could say more of the other types of emotions other than the extremely dense negative ones. And those emotions are very important and very valuable. But how many of you are able to choose to feel good, right? So imagine gaining access to feeling good again, not having to be run by your anger or not having to be run by your fear or your anxiety all day long, not having to run out of abandonment or run out of trust issues and operate from that space. Imagine being able to feel inspired and feel excited with life and being able to exist with emotions like joy, happiness, love, connection, once again, adventure, curiosity. So, this is all a part of the authentic self, the whole spectrum of emotions, all the way from sadness to joy, from anger to excitement, right? And The authentic self is the ability to start integrating these qualities, these childlike qualities, back into your system while you're doing your trauma work, while you're working with those deep portions of your unconscious mind, while you're actively creating a healthy foundation in your life with environments and relationships and coping mechanisms, and then implementing safety where you can do that, where you're creating safety cues and you're just doing the best that you have the ability to do to establish safety in your life so your nervous system feels safe and it doesn't always have to be triggered in these survival responses, or it doesn't always have to be triggered in a shutdown and a freeze response. So it's like as you're doing those types of things, you are integrating those inner child parts of you and qualities of you back into your system as you're an adult. This is what the authentic self is. You can be an adult, you could be 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, etc., whatever age, and you can have these beautiful vulnerabilities. You can be emotionally connected. You can share your emotions based on what you're truly feeling. That's what it means to be authentic. That is the true self. Now, of course, this is going to look different for everyone because you may not be feeling the same way that I'm feeling based on your life experience. You might have different types of triggers. You might have different types of emotions that surface during certain things. That's unique, and that would be unique to you. And to be authentic is to honor these things that you're experiencing internally and being with that, knowing that that is self love and that is important for your integration and healing process. So, once again, the authentic self is the integration of these different types of things so that you can start living more in that present moment. So, you can start going more so with the flow of how life operates so that you can feel better on a daily basis. You can feel like you're operating from a space of true unconditional love. First, starting with yourself, learning how to love yourself by accepting what it is that you're feeling and honoring it by feeling it emotionally and sensationally. Self loving by creating boundaries with unhealthy relationships and unhealthy people, creating boundaries with unhealthy environments, and creating space to be in environments that support feeling good or feeling safe, right? And incrementally taking baby steps, working towards those things and applying those things. This is what it means to self love. And then you start loving the world around you much more, right? You start feeling like the world is now working with you, not against you. There's no such thing as the universe going against you. And there's no such thing as the world being against you. There is no they against me. Everything is internal. It is literally all inside of you first. Everything you're experiencing externally is a manifestation and a reflection of what is already inside of you that is projecting outwards into your reality around you, giving you a mechanism to better work with yourself. Now, that is not always the most comfortable thing, and it definitely is not the most comfortable thing to allow yourself to really understand and accept as a truth. A lot of people like to scapegoat, and a lot of people like to play the victim, and a lot of people like to say it's not my fault, and they don't like to look inwards to that degree. But I'm telling you, that is where the real healing is. And where the real healing is where the real authenticity is. And there is nothing that is more powerful than what it means to be truly authentic. Okay. That is literally the most powerful energy that exists on our planet, in our solar system, in our galaxy, probably the universe at large. Being authentic, and being authentic fluctuates because authentic might be being sad in one moment, and authentic might be being happy in another moment. It is following the truth of your own signals, your bodily signals at a nervous system level, and honoring those things, staying true to those things, being with those things, and trusting that it will open up aspects of you that are going to be very beautiful aspects. And then you can start living from that state where you are feeling connected to the universe at large. And once again, you will start feeling the nurturance and the support from the universe as well, as if you have luck that is always following you. Okay. So I don't think there's one person on this video today that wouldn't want to or doesn't want to experience that. So that is the authentic self. That is the true self. And this gets developed when you are doing the deep reflection and when you're doing the trauma work, when you're really doing the integration work, feeling the emotions and the sensations, creating safety, implementing that healthy foundation. That is it. The false self is what we start to create. It is what we start to build, and it's what we start to structure as we are starting to grow older from children, as we're starting to get older, and then we're going through the different experiences and circumstances as well as relationships that are damaging in the sense that they are traumatizing us. So we can go through many forms of emotional abuse, physical abuse, spiritual abuse, mental abuse, all different forms of trauma can occur to us, as we're starting to get older and we're starting from that very vulnerable state of the child. And then as we're getting older, we're starting to take on all these different influences that are quite neglectful and quite abusive. And it becomes too much for us to even understand and absolutely too much for us to process. It becomes way too much for us to integrate because we simply just don't have the capacity to do it. One, we don't have the education to really understand what's going on or how to work with it. We're still oftentimes very young in age, and we're still often depending on our parents or depending on our caretakers. And we're just absorbing all of this abuse and trauma in like a sponge. And the only way that we can protect ourselves from those really challenging, dense, negative emotions is in many ways by fragmenting ourselves into parts. So then we fragment a vulnerability aspect of us to one side that holds our curiosity, it holds our adventure. And then we fragment this other part of us that is meant to protect us. It is meant to shell us from the abuse, from the trauma, in whatever way that it tries to do that. And it's trying to keep us safe. It's trying to protect our system because we're going through the abuse as a whole, or we're going through the trauma as a whole. So, as we are creating these parts of us and these aspects of us to shell us and to protect us from shelling, that is a wonderful thing because it's in many ways helping us survive that abuse in the way that we know how at that time. But it can also be quite damaging because now we're creating shells around our authentic self. We're creating a layer or a barrier around who we truly are that we are now oftentimes unconscious of. And then we start unconsciously projecting to the world around us. So we're now projecting a false self to everyone around you that is designed to actually keep us safe at a very deep level in regards to all these more so inner child parts of us and these deeper vulnerabilities. So these parts of us that are keeping us safe from being vulnerable again or being curious again or being in the present moment. So we're basically cutting ourselves off from accessing these things inside of us because the trauma that we once went through made us feel like it wasn't safe to be those things. So we kind of internalized it is not safe for me to be curious. It's not safe for me to be um, emotionally expressive. Every time I get angry and I have natural anger, I get shut down by my parents. It's not safe for me to feel sadness. Every time I cry, I get yelled at, right? It's not safe for me to be in the present moment because when I'm in the present moment, my parents think or someone thinks that I'm being lazy, or I'm not following orders or instructions on something, rules on something. So we cut ourselves off from having those qualities inside of our system, which are some of the most beautiful, wonderful qualities you can imagine. These are the authentic self qualities. And we create these protector aspects of us that are shelling us, while at the core of this shell, we have that pearl of the inner child, or the pearl of the authentic self. And once again, we're creating these protector aspects of us, and we could, like, let me say this, and I don't mean to confuse you as I say this, but these shells that we then create for ourselves and these protector parts of us, this is also a part of our authentic self too, because this is a part of the soul's evolution and how the soul is developing and how the soul is growing. So we can't just divorce the protector shelled aspects of us from the vulnerable pearl aspects of us. So in reality, it's all a part of the authentic self, but the reason why I'm communicating it in regards to the vulnerabilities of the inner child and how that is definitely aligned with an authentic self expression is because that would be a very deep connection that we all have inside of us to source energy, to the all energy, to what people would call God energy. Okay. Before all the fragmentation, before all the trauma. So, you know, as we're going through that trauma, and then we're creating these shelled aspects of us, and we are separating from who we authentically were and are, we oftentimes we oftentimes don't know that this is what's happening. This is largely unconscious. So most people don't know at all that this is what's going on inside of their nervous system or inside of their psyche. So people live their entire lives now identifying and attaching to their false self, to the images of themselves that are connected to these fragmentations, these protector parts that are designed to keep them safe. And the ways that these protector parts often are keeping them safe, or us safe, is in ways that aren't always the healthiest. Sometimes it can be through drug abuse. Sometimes it can be through extreme anger personality disorders or other extreme personality disorders that keep you isolated from other humans, right? Sometimes it can be through, you know, getting into toxic relationships, getting into toxic work environments. Like, these parts of us are trying to keep us safe, and they're trying to protect us by keeping us away from these once beautiful qualities that we had. And then, of course, the emotions inside of our system that are also behind us suppressing those qualities. So, with the traumas from the past and the emotions that came with the traumas, those are the things that we want to work with, and we want to feel, and we want to sense in order to bring those qualities back online. So these protector parts of us, the false self, tries to protect us from feeling those repressed emotions inside of the system so that it can keep us safe, just like what it once did in the past to help us survive the traumas that we went through when we once didn't have capacity or the understanding on how to navigate it. But the only difference is now we are wanting to go back to those emotions, to those sensations and memories, and actively work through them with acceptance. So in the past, it did what it needed to do to help us, but it will continue unfolding in that similar type of pattern, even as we're adults and even as we're getting older, to our own detriment if we don't actually intend to start working through some of these things and actually gain some understanding of what's going on inside of our system. So that is what the false self is. That's the separate self. It is the versions and the parts of you that you've had to create to separate yourself from the source awareness of what it means to be regulated and what it means to be connected to the inner child. Now, there is nothing wrong with the false self. Every single person has a false self. And remember, we had to create a false self to survive significant traumas that we've been through. So there's no judgment and there's no shame or guilt towards this false self. But there is an understanding that we don't want to overly attach to and overly identify with this aspect or this part of us for the rest of our life. We want to start working with it in a healthy, integrative way so we can start a process of allowing ourselves to heal and then bring online more of our authenticity and more of our vulnerability and our honesty and our true self connection. Okay. So that is the difference. That is the value. So, with that being said, hopefully, this is able to offer you a much deeper perspective on exactly what the false self is in relationship to the true self. I really hope that this gave you that practical breakdown that you can really use and implement in your daily life, once again, to have this deeper understanding. All right. That was my intention for making this video. If you gained value from this, hit the thumbs up button. Drop down in the comment section. Let me know what you learned. Let me know what you gained from this. Let me know if you are in resonance with if any of this was in resonance with you. Like, I would love to hear your personal perspective on that. Hit the notification bell, get notified whenever I'm posting these videos because I post videos every other day, like literally, and there's so much valuable content and so much valuable information that it is that I'm sharing. You do not want to miss out. Drop down, subscribe to my YouTube channel. By subscribing, you're further connecting. You are energetically connecting to everything it is that I'm teaching. So take advantage of that. Okay. Now I'm going to say, I encourage you to share this video with someone that you feel like will gain value from it as well. If you know someone that would gain value from this, send it to that person. If they just came to your head right now, as I say this, send it to that person or go ahead and send it to social media platforms. Okay. You have my full encouragement to do that. Now, I'm going to take your awareness to literally the most important link in the YouTube description. This is the first link at the very top. You can't miss it. This is my Patreon. On my Patreon, I have an entire 260 video plus videos that are only accessible to the Patreon members. Literally, these are only accessible to the Patreon members. And that is for many reasons based on the different types of content and what I have that is uploaded to the Patreon. But if you're someone that is studying and getting a lot of value from my content as a whole, and you're not a part of the Patreon, you have to join the Patreon. Okay. Take your studies, take your practices, take your knowledge and your development to that next level. Okay. I talk about everything you need to know in regards to true self development, all the way from occult sciences, ritualistic practices, education on the nervous system, healing trauma, etc. All these things organized in different collections that are going to offer you tons of value. All right. Tier number 3 and 4 gives you access to a really unique service that it is that I offer. This is called the Universe B Vampire Ritual Service. Now, the first thing that I want to say is that this is not for everyone. This is for people that are willing to do the deeper emotional integration in regards to repressed emotions in the nervous system and are willing to do that to a very deep degree and are also in resonance with some of the darker aspects of spiritual development in general. So if you are one of these people, then this service absolutely is for you. And this is an energetic transfer from me to you to help support you through this development process and also put you in resonance with a lot of these different darker, more so demonic energies that are existing in our galaxy at large. Okay. I also do a pretty significant change to the energetic body where I spin it in a counterclockwise way, which puts you in resonance with the black hole that exists inside of our galaxy as well. And this is where that vampiric magnetizing effect really kicks in. And not only does it help to pull up a lot of the darker, more so negatively charged energies inside of the self to bring them to the surface to be integrated, but it then starts to give you an ability to pull these things out of the environment and other people around you to turn into your own potential as well, but also leaving them in a position where they need to process what it is that they're needing to process. So it becomes a win win situation there. There are over 300 plus members that are actively participating in this ritual service every single month. The ritual is performed on the 29th. The deadline to sign up is the 28th. If you are wanting to take advantage of this, definitely look into it. There is a reason why so many people are taking advantage of it, and the Patreon is just continuing to grow every single day. Okay. With that being said, this is where I'm going to wrap that up. First link in the description if you want to utilize this service. Okay. Second link below in the YouTube description. This is where you can book one-on-one calls with me or mentorships. This is one of the most intimate ways to personally work with me, where we are going to be covering everything that is a necessity for nervous system regulation, creating a healthy foundation for you. And once those things are in place, then we start to move into the deeper occult side of things, if that's something that you're interested in. So all of that's in the second link below. Also, in the same second link below, you have an option to book a tarot card reading with Alexia. She is a very gifted tarot card reader. She can tell you what you're experiencing right now in your life in the present moment, and then give you some perspective of what's going to be taking place in your near future, all on an internal self development level, and connect these things back to the Kabbalistic tree to give you even deeper insight of what you're going through, transformatively speaking. Okay. Tons of people are booking readings with her. She's getting tons of valuable feedback. If you would like to take advantage of this yourself, it is the second link in that description below. Definitely check it out. Third link in the description is the Lucifers Foundation course. This is a very powerful course, gives you 11 modules that you'll have access to for the rest of your life. If you follow these things step by step and you're serious about it, you will start developing a healthy relationship with the energy that is known as Lucifer. Okay. Tons of people have purchased this course. People are buying it every single day. And it is something that is very serious, meaning it will cause some significant changes in your life if you're actually following through with these steps. And there is tons of feedback that is coming in with and from people that have taken advantage of this course. Okay. So if you're interested in that, third link below. Fourth link below is my YouTube memberships. So if you are wanting to join into the YouTube family, I would love to have you. That's the first thing that I want to say. I would love to have you as a YouTube member. Okay. It's like joining into a family where you enter into this community of universal mastery. And once again, I would absolutely love to have you in this community. Okay. So that is going to be the fourth link below. And then you're gaining access to a bunch of other benefits. I'm not going to cover that now. You can see those for yourself if you look deeper into that membership option. Okay. Fifth link is the book recommendations that I have for you. It is a 4 ebook bundle that you gain immediate access to when you purchase. That is literally going to tell you everything it is that you need to better understand initiation, invocation, working with the demons and the angels and what these entities are representing. Generally speaking, gaining access to their sigils, very fundamental occult knowledge that is very potent, yet easy to break down and digest in a practical way. That is one of the significant things that me and Nick really wanted to make sure was communicated with these different ebooks. And Nick is the person that basically partnered with me to put these things together. And Nick put a lot of time and energy into creating these books. And of course, I release them through my channel to help share that with the community. Okay. So, with that being said, this is it. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate all of you very, very much. And I hope you all have an amazing rest of the day or night, wherever you are. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.